can you elaborate on the work that you have done to achieve the combined assurance?
Yes, through you, Chair. Combined assurance has got the 3 levels. Firstly, management, which is the first level of resistance, or the first level of assurance. Management have got a risk management function in place. A risk management function is the second level. The third level is the external assurance providers, which is the independent internal auditors, as well as the external auditors. We have a combined assurance plan. Each of the role players have got their specific area of responsibility. Compliance is another one on the internal side. So yes, there is a combined assurance plan, and each of the role players act their role per that plan.
Thank you.
I think the one thing that does concern me, in terms of your progress report, your residual risk on the IT governance side continues to be red and still seems quite high. Can you tell us why? And how is that going to be addressed going forward?
Yes, through you, Chair. We will also see in the pack the feedback from the IT Risk Committee. There is a number of initiatives in progress around IT, but none of them have reached conclusion yet. So IT is, at this point in time, a work in progress. So the residual risk right now remains high.
Thank you. Any further questions for internal audit? External audit, are you satisfied that you're getting the degree of cooperation and sharing of information from internal audit that's necessary to execute your tasks?
Yes, Chair, we've met twice during the audit, and we've actually relied on the IT findings to create efficiencies during the audit. So basically, we're not going to test something that internal audit is already saying there are gaps in there. So we have adjusted our audit process accordingly.
Thank you. Any further discussion for internal audit? If we could move to 6.2 on the agenda. We do not have a written report from you, Mr. Naika, but the Risk Management Committee did meet. If you could inform the Audit Committee of those deliberations.
Sure, thank you, Chair. A correct meeting of the Risk Management Committee took place on the 26th of September 2012. Amongst all the issues discussed, I'll raise the significant issues that I need to bring to the attention of the Audit Committee. The Risk Committee considered all the various risk profiles, categories of all the various businesses across the entire group. The only concern that we have at this particular point in time relates to the credit counterparty risk profile. We think management needs to consider further controls around that in terms of ensuring that we minimize those exposures. On the enterprise-wide risk management, the committee considered the top 20 risks of the group and were comfortable with the mitigation strategies in place and the type of controls that management have implemented. The committee was also comfortable with the way the combined assurance framework is being implemented and the type of assurance being provided by the various assurance providers. I think the good thing is that the management have identified clearly the various assurance providers in management, external audit, internal audit, compliance, risk officers within the various businesses. The risk profiles have actually been overlaid with that. Each risk has an assurance provider attached to it, and they have responsible dates upon which they must report accordingly. The other concern which emerged, again, was the litigation risk. We, for some time, have sort of tended to ignore that, but we've now actually developed a litigation risk profile, heat map, and we will table that before the next audit committee. The committee considered the group risk control program and was comfortable with the status on the relevant governance structures and the risk profiles, the business continuity plan, the disaster recovery plan, and the overall risk exposures. There have been no recorded breaches of the risk management standards and the accompanying risk management matrices. That was fully evaluated. Each of the businesses across the group presented that before the committee. The committee interrogated, and they felt there was nothing that they needed to bring to the attention of the audit committee. The committee was concerned about the high injury frequency rates that emanated during the quarter under review. Management provided a detailed corrective action plan. The committee considered the plan and raised certain deficiencies and requested that management correct these within the next week and to provide the committee with a revised plan. Management was also advised to reassess its compliance with the OSHA and to ensure that there are no risks to the group and its businesses. The current group insurance claims were presented to the group by the group insurance manager, and no new claims were reported during the quarter. The committee were, however, concerned that a number of claims remained open and that management has not put in place sufficient time or has not dedicated sufficient time to close out these claims and recover whatever monies are due to the group. All governance arrangements, Chair, I can say, remain in place during the quarter under review. All the businesses within the group were tasked to undertake a King 3 and Companies Act control self-assessment or self-assessment surveys and report any possible breaches of the governance. The only significant concerns that emerged was the composition of two of the subsidiary boards, Alpha Limited and Beta Limited. The group CEO was tasked to raise this with the nominations committee for its quick resolution. Chair, I think that's the significant feedback that I want to provide.
Thank
and
you.
If there's any questions, I'll take
Thank you, Mr. Naika. Ladies and gentlemen, any matters from a risk management perspective that you wish to raise?
Chair, through you, Mr. Nika, you're talking about high injury rate compared to the previous quarter. How high is it? And also, what are we doing to reduce that injury risk?
It's actually increased to 10% vis-a-vis the second quarter. And again, the larger contributors to that are employee errors. I think adequate notifications around safety breaches throughout the group. So those were the two main reasons that have actually contributed to that. We have requested management and the safety team to actually begin increasing its communication, putting up more communiques across the operations across the countries to ensure that people's attentions are brought to the people's attention or the employees' attention, and that they begin to actually report these items as well, or report any injuries as quickly as possible so that we can deal with them within the group.
Do we have sufficient insurance?
Yes, we do. And we've also, at the committee, evaluated and ensured that all the WCA has been in place as well and remains in place.
Good, thank you. Any further discussion on the risk report? Thank you. The next is the IT Steering Committee. It's chaired by our CFO, Mr. Cresswell. We missed seeing the physical report, but if you could give us high-level feedback from the most recent meeting held, we'd appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Firstly, I just wanted to apologise for not including the document or the minutes in the pack. Unfortunately, with year-end pressures, we were unable to get that out in time. I have handed that out now at the beginning of the meeting. Feedback is as follows. Firstly, on the IT Steering Committee terms of reference, the document has been completed and approved by the IT Steering Committee subject to certain editorial changes. This document will be submitted with the next Audit Committee pack. The second point that I wanted to give feedback on was the documentation of the IT policies. The IT Steering Committee has appointed a task team to complete the documentation of these policies. The team at the moment is about 60% complete with the documentation. We are hoping to have those documents completed by the end of November and presented to the IT Steering Committee for their approval. In terms of testing the IT system, the testing is obviously an ongoing exercise as the developments are happening. At present, there's a dedicated computer on site that's being utilized for system testing. There's a schedule of all the functions that need to be tested and when they need to be tested. And the IT Steering Committee is comfortable that the entire system will be adequately covered by the testing. In terms of the update on the BCP and DRP, that's the Business Continuity Plan and Disaster Recovery Plan, they have been adequately documented and the plans have been put in place. However, we haven't had any testing of those plans yet. The testing will be scheduled for the next public holiday. In terms of penetration testing, that's testing to ensure that our firewall is basically hack-proof. The testing has not yet been completed. We have obtained several quotes from some independent service providers. A decision will be taken during the next week on which service provider will perform these tests and when these tests will be performed. The last item of feedback from the IT Steering Committee is the progress on policies on social media. Now, obviously, social media is a very important function in terms of the modern technology era, and unfortunately, we cannot ignore this. At the moment, we're in a consultative phase with the members of the staff and basically looking at how social media impacts them both at work and in their private capacities. And essentially, we need to design a policy that caters for that to ensure that there's not too much time being wasted on social media during office hours, but at the same time, if there are business requirements, we need to be giving people access to that. So that's being looked at the moment, and it should be complete within the next month.
Thank you, Mr. Cresswell, for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we've also included in the Audit Committee pack a paper on social media which you can certainly use to improve your insights therein.